What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on first take, they're going to be talking about how Vince Carter will be retiring from the NBA after 22 years. So let's see what they have to say about that.
Vince Carter announcing his retirement today. Stephen A., start with you. What's Vince Carter's legacy?
Uh, One of the greatest talents we've ever seen unfulfilled. When we think about MJ, think about what Kobe Bryant ultimately became. His number one rival should have been Vince Carter. But once Vince Carter departed Toronto, he was never the same guy. His career averages is 16 points, like 30% from three-point range, things of that nature. He has a long history. He obviously warrants consideration for the Hall of Fame, but it's primarily because of others who are not in the Hall of Fame who haven't won championships either. But he was so electrifying, such a box office talent. He was unreal. To see how he just became just another really good player, as opposed to touching on a level of greatness we witnessed from a Kobe, from a MJ. You're going to look at his talent and say, something was missing. He's a great guy, by the way, but you're going to say that. That's just the truth.
So I'm going to have to agree with Stephen A. Smith on this one, definitely. There was something about Vince Carter that he just wasn't able to get to the top. I don't necessarily think it's his fault. I think he's just one of those guys that are just overshadowed by the other bigger teams, other bigger players. Like you said, Kobe Bryant, he was cleaning house when he was playing. It's kind of the same thing with Michael Jordan. Anybody that played during the Michael Jordan era, you got screwed over because MJ was cleaning house. You know, the Karl Malones, the Charles Barkley, the John Stocktons, all those guys missed out because MJ was cleaning house. So let's take a quick look at Vince Carter's career stats. So he played in 1,541 games. He averaged 16.7 points a game, 3.1 assists a game, one steal a game, and his field goal percentage is .435. So Vince Carter, he was a baller, but like I said, I think he just wasn't be able to be on a championship type team. You know, the Spurs, the Lakers, and then the Cleveland, and then the Golden State Warriors. He just kind of missed the boat. He's one of those guys, but he's still a baller and probably has one of the best dunks ever in a dunk contest. So let's continue.
I see him very differently than you, Stephen A. Apparently, I know what you mean. He looked like, is it going to be Vince or Kobe for a while? It was Kobe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Kobe from the beginning, but Vince Carter was definitely there.
But he's an eight-time All-Star who then had a second act in his career as a valuable team-oriented role player, but a starting caliber player for like a decade. And that transition, although you'd like to see it trend up from, if you're an all-star, you're almost an MVP. Now start winning MVPs and championships, and instead it trended the other way. He's 43 years old. He's a Hall of Famer, not only based on the quality of his prime, again, 8 all-star games, but then the second half of his career, where for over a decade, he was a valuable contributor to NBA teams. It's one thing to just hang around as a name, and when you're out on the floor, you're not doing much. He adapted to the modern NBA and was valuable for an extra decade. I think his career, to me, says less about not fulfilling some potential and more about evolving as a player, and that resulting in longevity, the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen from a type of player like Vince Carter. So I believe he is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. So I can definitely run with Vince Carter becoming a Hall of Famer. So let's take a quick look at the two teams that he played with longest. So the first team would be the Toronto Raptors, and he did 7 seasons with them. So his stats go as he played in 403 games. He averaged 23 points a game. His field goal percentage is .446. He averaged 4 assists, 1.3 steals, and 1 block a game. So needless to say, Vince Carter was no slouch. So the second team he played with the longest was the New Jersey Nets. He played with them for 5 seasons, and he played 374 games. He averaged 23 points a game. His field goal percentage is .447. He averaged 4.7 assists, 1.2 steals, and half a block a game. So again, needless to say, Vince Carter, he was no slouch. He was a baller. He just wasn't able to get over the hump and get a championship. And I don't necessarily think that's his fault. It's just timing, his team, and things just didn't work out for him. But he sure as heck had a long career, and it's a shame that he has to go out like this during a quarantine and while the season's been cut short. So I don't know. Let's continue.
I hope you're right, but to me, even if he were a Hall of Famer, he was supposed to be at least Kobe Part 2 or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, but I don't. Like I said, I don't necessarily think it's his fault that he wasn't able to be the next Kobe, because there's a lot that goes on to be able to be like Kobe. And like I said, I just don't think it was in the cards for Vince Carter to be a champion, especially on the level of a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant. But that doesn't mean he's trash. Vince Carter's a killer. Like I said, he's probably had one of the best dunks of all time during the dunk contest, but things just didn't work out. So let's continue.
Happened. And getting back to our original subject about players in their own league, Max Kellerman, two things I forgot to mention. Infrastructure would cost billions, number one. And number two, some of those owners own the arenas they would need to play in. It's such a daunting task.